What's going on everyone? This is Gaurav and welcome to my learning channel. So in today's video, we'll learn how to put filters in pandas. Now, without any further delay, let's get started. So first of all, we'll go ahead and load pandas into our memory. So import pandas as PD. This is the CSV file that we are going to work with in today's tutorial, which is csvfile.csv. Let's quickly go ahead and load it into our data frame called df1. Let me just quickly go ahead and trigger it. Now let's take a look at the content of this data frame. So df1.head 5. This will give me a top 5 records from this data frame. So as you can see, you have customer ID, you have name, age, and state for different customers. And some of the data points are customer ID 1, name is AAAA, and corresponding age for the customer is 25 and state is TX, which is Texas. Now, before we dive into the details of how to put the filters into pandas, let's quickly learn how to reference a particular variable, which means out of these 4 variables, what if I want to select just one variable? So there are 2 different ways with which we can do that. The simplest one is you add the name of the variable right here, which is, let's say if I want to reference just name, so command for same is going to be, you first of all write the name of data frame, which is df1, and then afterwards name of variable, which is name in this case. This is sufficient enough. However, if I want to take a look at just top 5 names, then I'll go ahead and write head 5. And this will give me a top 5 names from this data frame, which is AAAA, BBBB, CCCC, and so on. There's an alternate way of doing this as well, for which you will write the name of the data frame afterwards, you put the big bracket, and then you write the name of variable, which is name in this case. Again, everything else remains same. Now you can see that again, you're getting the top 5 names from this data frame. So both of these are doing the exact same thing, which is we are referencing name and we are taking the top first 5 entries. Now, what if I want to take a look at more than one variables? However, I don't want to select everything, for which we can use the list of a list. So the command sort of remains very similar to what you have here. Let me go ahead and quickly paste it here. You will have to add one more bracket. Now let's go ahead and add the name of second variable. So first variable is name. And let's say I want to also add age. So I can go ahead and add age here as well. Now let's quickly trigger it. Now you can see that you have just 2 variables. So you have name and age. Now you might be wondering, why do I have 2 brackets here and just 1 bracket here? So it's not really 2 bracket, but rather it's just 1 bracket only. Within this 1 bracket, I am referencing a list. And in Python, in order to write a list, you have to add it within your big bracket. So in a way, you can say that the command is not just simply adding 2 brackets here, but rather it's 1 bracket, and inside you can add a list or variable entry. And afterwards, you can reference those particular variable entries, which could be 1 variable or more than 1 variable. So now that we know how to select more than 1 variable or 1 variable at a time, let's try to put a filter in this data frame. Coming back to this data frame, which is df1, we had 4 different variables. You have customer ID, name, age, and state. And if I want to take a look at all the entries for the state of Florida, for which the state code is going to be FL, how do I do that? Which could be a simplest exercise of putting any filter on your data frame called df1. So there are 2 different ways with which you can do that. First of all, you will write the name of variable. Let me actually first of all write the code here, and then I'll go ahead and explain it. So this is how your code is going to look like. So you have df1, which is the data frame on which you want to put the filter. And within the big bracket, you will go ahead and add the filter that you want to put on this data frame, which is df1. So let's first of all trigger the query to take a look at the output. Now this is your output. Now, as you can see that the only output on the screen is for the entries where the state is FL, which is Florida, which is the filter that we have put in. So let's try to understand what's happening in this code. So first of all, we wrote the name of data frame, which is df1. And then afterwards, you have a big bracket. And within the big bracket, we have written df1.state, and you have double equal to Florida, which is FL. So what's happening is that first of all, I'm asking that I would like to take a look at the content from df1. When I write anything within big bracket afterwards, that means that I'm going to go ahead and put some sort of a filter. Within that, I'm referencing this variable, which is df1.state. So I'm again calling out this particular data frame, which is df1. And within df1, I'm asking the system that get me all the entries for state. And then I'm asking the prompt that I would like to take a look at the entries, which is only for Florida. That's why you have a state code of a FL. This could be one of the simplest example on how you can go ahead and put a filter in your data frame. Now, as I mentioned earlier, that there are 2 different ways with which you can reference a particular variable. One way was that you write the name of the data frame and then afterwards dot, and then you have name of variable. Another one was that you can also add this big bracket and then afterwards you can write the name of variable. So let's try the second approach as well real quick. I'm going to go ahead and copy this code. Now, rather than writing df1.state, I'll go ahead and add a big bracket, and then I'm going to go ahead and add a single quote, close this bracket, and this will give me the exactly same result. Now you can see that you have the same output because essentially we are doing the same thing. First of all, we are referencing the variable, which is state, and that's within this data frame called df1. So once we are putting the filter, we are asking the system that get me all the entries for the state of Florida. Now, what if I don't want to take a look at people from Florida, but rather I would like to take a look at all the customers who are from Florida or Texas. So now I have more than one state. So one of the simplest way of doing this could be that you can go ahead and add a list here. So rather than having a one single entry of FL, you can add a simple list. Let me go ahead and copy this code and paste it right here. So I'll go ahead and modify this code a little bit. So rather than having a equal to sign, I'll go ahead and add something called isin. And then afterwards, I'll reference a list. Let's make a list here. And within this list, you will have two entries. So you will have Florida and also Texas. Now let's go ahead and trigger the code. Now you can see that you have all the entries for Texas or Florida. So these are the customers who are from either Florida or customer. Another way of doing this could be that you can go ahead and save all of the entries within this particular list as one of the variable, and then you can reference the variable here. So let's quickly go ahead and try to do that as well. First of all, I'll go ahead and copy this code, and I'm going to go ahead and make a list. Let's say the name of the list is called LST1. And the content of this list is just two entries, which is Florida and Texas. So let me quickly add that here. Now, rather than having the details for Florida and Texas written as a part of the main code, you can just simply reference this list, which is LST1. Now, if you trigger the code, you will get the exact same output. Now, you might be thinking that why do I have to do this in two different steps? That's because once you will start writing more complicated, then you will have to make a list like this and you will have to reference that multiple times. So rather than writing all of these things again and again, you can simply go ahead and save the entries for that list in a particular variable, and you can reference that variable in your code. Let's keep on building on this filtering exercise. Now let's say if I want to take a look at entries for all of the customers who have a certain characters in their name. For that, I'll make a separate video for regular expression. However, there is a very simple way of doing that as well, which is you could use something like contains. Let's quickly write the code for that. So let's say if I want to take a look at the customers whose name has a certain character. So first of all, you will go ahead and put the filters within this particular data frame. And then afterwards you have df1.name because this is the variable on which I want to put the filter. And then afterwards you'll write the str and then contains. Now, if I want to take a look at the entries for all of the customers who have X in their name, let me quickly go ahead and trigger this code. Sorry, these are small c and small s. Okay, so now you can see the details for the customers who have X in their name. So the query is fairly simple. First of all, you are referencing df1, which is your data frame. And within that, you are putting the filter and you are asking the prompt or the system that, okay, get me the names, get me the details for all of the customers whose name, because df1.name contains this particular character, which is X. So as an output, you can see the details for all of the customers who have at least one X as one of the characters in their name. You could also put numeric filter as a part of a data frame. So say for instance, this was the original data frame. Now, if I want to take a look at the details for all of the customers whose age is, let's say, more than 30, so I can go ahead and put the filters in a very similar way as we have done it for the text filter. So let's quickly go ahead and write that. So first of all, you will go ahead and write the name of data frame, which is df1. And then afterwards you have df1.age, which is greater than or equal to, let's say this is 30. And this will get you the details for all of the customers whose age is either equal to 30 or more than 30. So far, we have learned how to put a filter on a data frame. However, for all of these instances, we have just put a filter on one variable at a time. So you can also add more conditions, which is you can add more than one filters on the same data frame. So let's take a look at that. So first of all, let's try to understand the structure of query. So far, what we have learned is we will add condition 1, and this will get me the output. However, if you have more than one conditions, so you will simply go ahead and write the conditions, which is condition 1, and you will go ahead and write the other conditions as well. Let's say you have another one, which is condition 2. And then afterwards, you will have to go ahead and write the relation between them, which is how do you want the query to execute? So let's say if I want to have the details for all of the customers where either condition 1 is satisfied or condition 2 is satisfied. So I can go ahead and add a or condition here. Now in Pandas, you don't have any or condition, rather you have a pipe function, which is essentially just asking the system that if any of these two conditions satisfied, which is your condition 1 or condition 2, then get me the output. Now let's take a look at an example for this. So let's say if I want to take a look at the details for all of the customers who belongs to a particular state or have an age which is more than, let's say, 30. Query for the same is going to look something like this. Let's go through the conditions one by one. So first of all, you have the name of data frame. This is your base data frame on which you want to put the filter. This is your condition 1. So we are asking the prompt that get me the details for all of the customers who are from one of these three different states. So you have Texas, you have Florida, and you have New York. And the way to do that is by using the keyword called isin. We just learned that in the earlier part of the video. And then afterwards, I'm adding a pipe function, which is nothing but an OR condition. And this is your second condition, which is df1.age is more than 30. So I'm asking the system that get me the details for all of the customers whose age is more than 30. So in summary, we are asking the system that get me the details for all of the customers from this data frame, which is df1, who are either from the state Texas, Florida, or New York, or they have an age which is more than 30. Let's quickly trigger this code to take a look at the output. So as a part of the output for each one of these line items, you can see that either condition 1 is satisfied or condition 2 is satisfied. And it's possible that both of these conditions are satisfied as well. So for instance, for this first line item, you can see that this customer is from Texas. That's why you have this as an output. So even though age is less than 30, this is still there as an output. Similarly, for this fourth item, you can see that age is more than 31. And apart from that, this customer is also from New York. So both of these conditions are satisfied, and that's why you have this as an output. You can also go ahead and modify this query and ask the system that get me the details for all of the customers where both condition 1 and condition 2 is satisfied. So rather than or, you can also go ahead and modify that so that you have the details for all of the customers when both the conditions are satisfied. Let's quickly go ahead and copy this code. And then rather than a pipe function, you will just simply add an AND function. So if you trigger this query, then now you can see that you have details for all of the customers where both the conditions are satisfied. So for instance, for the first line item, you can see that age is more than 30 here. So you have age 31. And then apart from that, this customer is also from New York, which is part of one of these 3 entries that you want as an output. Using the similar logic, you can add more conditions. So you can have 3, 4, 5 conditions. All you will have to do is just write the conditions, and on top of it, you will also have to add this qualifier, which is how would you like these conditions to be executed, whether it's an AND function or an OR function. So hopefully this gave you a good idea on how to put a filter in Pandas. In our next video, we'll learn about indexes, lock, and iLock. Thank you so much. I wish you best of luck in your learning journey.